Hi my dear friends, welcome back to my channel. I am so thrilled to be finally getting back into filming YouTube videos. I have taken a really long break because if you didn't know, I have been building a completely brand new craft room because we just moved into a new house back in the summer, and in this house I didn't really have a space to craft, and so I am so insanely blessed and privileged and fortunate that I was able to build on a really small space in our house that I could do my crafting and no longer have to be like bouncing around the house. I'm just incredibly grateful. I'll never stop saying that. So that being said, this room was completed maybe like 6-ish weeks ago, so I've really just been taking some time for myself. There's been a lot going on in my personal life and it's just been really hectic, so I really decided to just take some quiet time and just make some art for myself. I've been definitely haven't been neglecting my crafting, that's for sure. I've been working on a lot. I do plan on making a flip through video of the journals that I have completed in the time that I've been off YouTube, so I have a couple of those journals to show you at some point. I'm also considering, once I have everything all together in this room, everything's in here basically, but I'm still figuring out like a good organization for everything. I don't have tons and tons of craft stuff because if you've been watching my videos, I got rid of almost everything when I moved in here. So I really was starting my whole collection and my craft stash from scratch. So I don't have a ton of stuff, but I do have plenty of stuff that just needs a good organization system, so I'm still figuring that out. But when I do, let me know if you would be interested in seeing a little craft room tour. This is a very tiny room, so there's not a ton to show you, but if you're interested, I could definitely do that. So now I want to move on to what this video is all about, and that is me making my newest junk journal. I just the other day finished my most recent one, so we're gonna move on to the next, and I had a really awesome idea for this next one. So I have 2 huge boxes of artwork from my childhood that my parents gave me, and it is, I mean, it's stuffed full of stuff. I'll try and like insert some clips here of the massive amounts of artwork and journaling and just like random things from my childhood that they kept, and I am so blessed and grateful that they did that. So my thinking is it would be such a precious idea to use some of this old artwork in my new journals. It kind of feels like I'm collaborating with my inner child and just continuing the art that she created back in the day. So I don't know, it'll be really fun, and I plan on having this journal just be like a whole hodgepodge of stuff, just a mix of old, like my old artwork and new artwork, really just random, like no theme. I've been incorporating a lot more trash in my journals lately, so there will still be lots of that. It's really just gonna be whatever I feel, anything goes. So I have already started going through one of the boxes, and I just pulled out a bunch of random papers that I thought would be cool to incorporate in the journal, and then I'll show you kind of what I'm thinking for the cover. So here is all the artwork that I pulled. I tried to pull out papers that were a little bit larger because I think I want the journal to be a little bit on the bigger side. So let me show you what I'm thinking for the cover actually first. So this actually was already a spiral bound journal, and I just took the cover off. This was the back cover, and I'm thinking this won't be the front. I'll actually make this the inside of the front cover because I think, so my most recent journal was made out of one of these padded mailers, and I think I want to do that again. I just love using these so much. So I'm thinking this will be the cover. I'll use this as the inside, and then I think I want to cover the outside of it with some fabric. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Just again, this is going to be so eclectic and random. So because this is about how big the cover is going to be, I obviously want the pages, let me actually move you out a little bit. I want the pages to be a little bit bigger. So I tried to select a mixture of papers. Some really don't have a whole lot of stuff on them, which is great to have more of a blank slate. And then some of them, I loved that there was already some really cute artwork on them, and I tried to pick colors that speak to me. So this is very similar to my adult color palette, so I just really liked those. And then also I tried to pick ones that already had some paint on it because I thought that would be fun to add paint to it and just create more of a mixed media page, I guess. And I'm not worried about covering up a lot of this artwork because, again, this is all just stuff from my childhood that was sitting in a box. Some of it, you know, I'll incorporate the art itself and maybe not cover it up, but then some of it, you know, I might just slap some paint on top of it, or, you know, put some packaging or photos on top of it. So I'm not really attached to this artwork, but I just thought it would be fun to use up this paper that I already have, and there's already some artwork started on it. So even, you know, for this one, I love the color palette of this, and this would be so cute to maybe just add some more artwork to it, or maybe put a picture here or something. So anyway, that's kind of my thinking. So I've also been enjoying just making more of a smaller journal, or having less pages in the journal, just so I'm not tied to one journal for too long. My most recent journal, it didn't have a whole lot of pages in it, and I think I finished it in like 2 months, and that was a perfect time frame for me because, you know, if you're familiar with my channel, you know I kind of like to move on fairly quickly, but I also don't necessarily have a monthly journal because then I feel rushed to make a new journal for the next month, if that makes sense. The amount of pages that I have here is probably way too much, but I just wanted to have options, so I'm gonna go through these and pick out which ones I like best and start trimming them, and I'll show you what my signatures look like then. And also there were a bunch of random little bits that I thought were really cute that I could use on the pages in the journal or just use as ephemera. So I did put some of these aside. I think this is supposed to be an ice cream cone. Really random things, but I just, you know what, I've really been into sort of a messy, sort of childish, eclectic journal. I'm going to show you my most recent journal, but it is very much so that kind of vibe, and I wanted to keep with that. So I really honestly do like all of this children's artwork because I feel like it really speaks to me right now. Yeah, isn't that so cute? And I love this. See, like things like this, I can, you know, maybe I'll pull that off the page and glue it somewhere else, or cut this out even and put it on a different page. And obviously this is such a cute idea, you know, if you happen to have your childhood artwork, but this is also a really good idea if you have children. You can use their artwork to make them a journal, or if you don't want to do that, just use artwork that you've been working on in recent times or in, you know, recent years as an adult even, just incorporating old artwork to make new artwork and give it a new life. And I actually just wanted to show you, so since these are just like 8.5 by 11 copy paper, and they're basically the same size as the cover, I kind of want to use some of these whole sheets. So what I'm doing is I'm just using a paper hinge to hinge the pages together. So this one was a little bit more blank, so I figured I'm just gonna go ahead and cut this up and use it as a hinge, and I'll show you how I do that if you've never done this before. I'm just gonna cut off a little strip of this paper that's like a couple inches or so. It doesn't even have to be that big, just big enough to be able to attach to each page. And then I'm gonna fold it in half. And I want to hinge these two pages together. And then just figure out which side you want your hinge to be glued to. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm just gonna glue it to this side. So I'm using a glue stick. And I'm gonna glue it to my first paper. And then I'm gonna glue the other side of the hinge. And line it up. And glue it to the other paper. Sorry if I was out of frame for any of that. I'm like out of practice for filming. And then you have a nice hinged page. And then for another one of the pages, so this is really cool paper, but it's super thin and I almost feel like it's just gonna kind of rip right out. So I thought I could just glue it to one of these copy papers so it would make it a little bit thicker. I'm just using glue stick for this. And I think I wanna have this side glued. And I am not being perfect with this. And I may even add some like stitching to some of the pages or add pockets or something before I sew in all the signatures. So I'm really not worrying about making this super perfect. And I can always, you know, glue this down a little bit more later on if I decide that I need to. But for now, this is fine. And I'm just gonna fold this in half, and then this will be another page in my journal. Something else that I wanted to show you that I'm gonna do is, so some of these papers are a little bit fragile, like these construction papers. I'm not that old, but I'm old enough for these papers to be a little bit on the brittle side. Again, especially these construction papers, they're just a little bit, I don't know, crunchy. So I'm worried they may break down as I start punching holes for the signatures. So I'm gonna add some masking tape just along the spine, I guess, just to make it a little bit more durable. I just realized I turned the light off for those last few clips, so hopefully hopefully the video wasn't too dark. Okay, so that should help it to hold up a little bit more. And then I also folded this one in half long ways, and I thought this would make some cute little pockets. But again, since this is that same construction paper, I'm just gonna add a little bit of tape, and I think I'm gonna do it on this side. As I'm working on this, I'm just feeling like little Katie would be so happy right now, like so excited. So I don't know, I just love that I'm doing this. This is so much fun for me. I really want to incorporate this somehow, but I can't fold it in half because the paint that I used is like, it's like really hard. So it's already starting to crack a little bit. So I'm gonna have to think about what I can do with this because I really like it. I think it's really cool. I think I'll hinge these two together. And some of these pages I may have to trim down a little bit, but I also don't mind when some pages are a little bit wider and kind of poke out of the side of the journals. I just wanted to show you this paper. I don't know what kind of paper this is. Almost feels like newsprint, but not really. It's a little bit more crackly than that, but I just love this paper so much. I love how crinkly it sounds, so definitely gonna use this one. So I have 15 papers here, and I had 14 papers in my most recent journal that I just finished, and that was plenty. So I think this is gonna be good. And I think I'm gonna make this 2 signatures. I just wanted to show you this though. Isn't this so funny? This was a Bob Evans placemat. And you remember Back in the good old days when they would give kids crayons to like draw on their placemats in restaurants, they don't really do that anymore, which is so sad to me. But anyway, I just love that I have this. Just a reminder of the good old days. That food looks so gnarly. Okay, so I have them split up into 2 signatures, and I'm just going to set these aside for now, and I'm gonna go ahead and start working on the cover. And then whenever I finish the cover is when I can go back into the signatures and resize my papers and cut them down and do whatever else I need to do. So I'm really not gonna fuss over this, but I already have this folded to the right size. So, oh my goodness, you guys. I already have this folded to the right size, so I'm just gonna go ahead and glue this down. And I'm probably gonna sew all of this, so I'm really not worrying too much about using a ton of glue or anything. Okay. And I don't think I'm gonna trim down the mailer at all. I think I'm fine with the size that it's gonna end up being. I don't need a huge spine, so an inch or so will suffice. Actually, and then maybe what I can do is fold this over and make it a little pocket here. And just note that if you are using one of these padded mailers, that if you start to cut into it, you will see some of the the padding that's on the inside, which is always white. So if that bothers you, then just, you know, keep that in mind. But it doesn't look like there's too much on this one, so I'm just gonna pull out some of these little end pieces. Okay, so I did add some stitching down the side of this pocket here, and then I just went ahead and sewed all the way around the inside of the cover here. So now we can start on the cover. I was like debating between all 3 of these. I'm just trying to line it up to the edges of the journal so I don't really have to trim off much. I'm just gonna kind of sloppily cut this off here. I don't really care what this edge looks like because I'm gonna put fabric on top of it. And I keep going back and forth between this one and this one. I'm just not gonna think too much about it. I'm just gonna use this one because this was my first instinct. And I'm hoping that there's gonna be enough fabric here that I can wrap it around. There's not, but that's okay. I'll just cut off a little extra bit. I just really love having these more messy journals. I like to have really pretty journals too, though lately I have less of those, but I just like this because it feels like I'm playing. It makes me feel less inspired when I feel like I'm trying to make something look a certain way or trying to make it look perfect. For a daily journaling practice, I just really like this sort of whatever kind of mentality. I can just play around like when we were kids, you know? We didn't really like think about things when we were kids. We just did it. I'm just gonna use this little silicone spatula to spread the glue. I just pulled out some of the little ephemera kind of bits that were in my craft collection, and I thought this was so cute, and I thought it would be really cute to put it on the cover. So I might put that there, but then I also feel like there needs to be something up here, and I thought I could utilize this fabric and maybe I'll just cut out like a little fabric heart or something. These scissors are horrible. Yeah, because I like all the colors that are going on here, so I feel like the pop of green will be a good addition. Now let's see if I can free cut a heart here. Not too bad. Something like that. It's cute. I feel like I'm missing something else though. I just don't know what. Okay, so before I got too carried away with the cover, I did want to make sure that I stitched around the edges just to secure the fabric in place. Did kind of mess that up a little bit, but it doesn't matter. It's fine. I think I decided, since this is a little booklet, I don't want this like flipping open since it'll be on the cover, so I thought it'd be really cute to put just like a little jute twine closure here, so I can tie that. And then I think I'll put the heart up here behind the book. And then I was debating if I was gonna do like a little slow stitch with some of this thread. I just don't know if I feel like doing all that, to be honest. And it will like, so I'm not too worried about this. Again, I know some of the artwork that's going in this journal is gonna get messed up when I start, you know, creating on top of it. So I'm not too attached to it. And I know if I sew this on that it's gonna come through this, and that's fine. I think I'm just feeling a little bit lazy though, so honestly I think I'm just gonna glue this on and then take it over the sewing machine and add some stitching with my sewing machine. Okay, so just added some stitching around the heart, and now I'm going to attach this little book on the front. Find the center of the jute. I'm just going to tape it on the back. Keep realizing I'm like out of frame here. Sorry guys. Okay, so I can't decide if I want to keep this like straight on or if I want this to be kind of like cockeyed like that. I feel like I kind of want it to be like that. Oh my gosh, this is turning out so much cuter than I even like imagined in my mind. This makes my heart so happy. I love this. As I'm working on this journal, I may, you know, add some more embellishing to the front. I did pull out these buttons and I thought maybe I'd put a button on here, but I don't feel like doing that right now. So I'm just going to move on and get the signatures sewn in. Okay, so I separated my papers into two different signatures, and I'm gonna go ahead and start sewing them in. I'm gonna start with the second signature. If this was a journal that I was selling in my Etsy shop, I would measure this all out and make sure that it was, you know, lined up perfectly in the journal. But since it's my own, I really don't care too much, and binding is like my least favorite part. So anything I can do to just make this as, you know, quick as possible. I don't care if it ends up being a little bit janky looking. So I can see where my inch inch wide spine is, and I'm just gonna line up the second signature closer to, you know, the right side of the spine. And then I'm gonna clip it on so it doesn't move. And this is the thread I'm using. I like to run some beeswax through it. It just helps the thread to kind of, I don't know, I guess it like holds the pages together a little bit better, and I don't know. I learned this from Amity Bloom. I'm pretty sure she said that she waxes her own thread rather than buying already waxed thread. I'm gonna thread that, but first I'm going to punch in my holes. I'm just gonna do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. Ooh, put something underneath. Do a hole in the middle, and hopefully this is going through my spine. Just be careful if you're doing this, guys, and you know, like I said, this is not a surefire way to get a perfect binding at all. This is definitely not the smartest way to do it, but again, I'm going for ease and not perfection. And if you want a good tutorial on how to do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch like this video is not it. There's tons of videos on YouTube showing you how to do it better than I'm showing you, so just search for 3-hole pamphlet stitch tutorial. And I'm gonna do the same thing for my first signature. And I forgot to mention, I know some of these pages are gonna be kind of like poking out of the top and the sides a little bit, and I actually kind of liked how that looked. So for the time being, I'm just going to kind of leave it like that. Perfect. So yeah, so as you can see, the binding is like not matched up at all, but I really don't care. And as you can see, the pages are kind of like poking out a little bit. I'm just gonna leave that as is for now because it's really not bothering me. It may bother me in the future, and if it does, then I'll just trim them down. But that is the beautiful thing about junk journals, especially these ones that are truly junky junk journals, is that there's really no rules. You don't have to be too particular or too careful with your crafting. It's kind of just like anything goes, and you can always change things in the future. There is a really easy fix for almost anything if you are willing to overlook imperfection and kind of embrace it. So I'm just gonna give you kind of a very brief little flip through, just show you what we have going on here. So that's a cute little pocket there. And these are gonna make really fun pages, especially pages like this where there's already kind of a little mixed media vibe going on. These will be really good for just adding more paint and creating a whole mixed media art piece, I guess. If I want to, you know, I very well may just put, you know, some trashy packaging on top of this or something, but I'm not being attached to any particular outcome, so. And this was that pocket that we made in the back. And that's it. I'm so excited. I love how this journal turned out. I think it's so cute. If you want to see me actually journaling in this, let me know. I don't think I've really done too many videos of me actually journaling in my journals. But if those are the kind of videos that you guys like, let me know. I don't like to make them all the time just because journaling is something that's very personal to me, and not personal, but it's just, you know, it's something that I kind of have to do in my quiet time, and it really takes me out of it sometime if I'm filming at the same time. So, but sometime I would be willing to maybe do it. So anyway, let me know if that's something that you're interested in. But yeah, thank you so incredibly much for being here and for sticking it out with me for these past few months while I've kind of been on and off of social media. I really appreciate it, especially for the couple people who did, you know, check in on me and say that they miss me. I miss you guys too so much. I genuinely, it's such a tiny little community here, but it means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And I'm sending you so much love and big hugs, and I'll see you soon in another video. Bye.